I was serving at CMOP for a year during the height of the Iraq War in 2005, 2006. I would walk in every day. There'd be a big screen. It'd have a soldier's name, their rank, their location, and their injury. So I would say the pivotal moment for me in the Army was when I was serving in the Wounded in Action and Killed in Action cell for Department of Army during that time. I made gut-wrenching phone calls. I was there for families. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about just us as a society. And I have carried that year and those lessons with me while I've built this business and while I continue to serve my community.
What happens when military precision, discipline, leadership, and heart-centered service collide inside one of the most competitive real estate markets in the country? Today, you're about to find out. Welcome back to the Real Estate Roundtable. I'm your host, Lancelot Lenard, broker associate with Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage. And today's guest brings a level of leadership rarely seen in this industry. Sonny Alexander is the broker owner of Red Sash Group, a veteran-owned Tampa Bay powerhouse, a West Point graduate, former U.S. Army officer, top 5% producer, and best broker of the year. Sonny built a business rooted in discipline, service, and community impact. She's mastering what many agents dream of, leading a mission-driven real estate company that builds legacy, empowers families, and elevates the next generation of professionals without burning out. Today, we're breaking down how Sonny communicates under pressure, how she and her husband are building a multi-generational business, why real estate became her new service mission after the military, and how agents can lead with purpose while scaling with excellence. So buckle up. This is leadership. This is legacy. This is Real Estate Roundtable. Sonny, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, what an introduction. Now I'm a little bit nervous.
Don't be. You are one of the best in Tampa. So, Sonny, before Tampa Bay knew you as a top producing broker, the U.S. Army knew you as an officer. What was the moment or the mission that shaped your foundation as a leader?
Oh, wow. That's an easy question to answer. So the military, you change duty stations and you have different jobs in different locations. And the duty station that fundamentally changed me and paved my future was I served a year at CMOC. That's Casualty Memorial Affairs Operations Center. That's in Virginia. CMOC is the hub for the Wounded in Action and Killed in Action Division for Department of the Army. So I was serving at CMOP for a year during the height of the Iraq War in 2005, 2006. Simultaneously, my husband was deployed in Iraq. My job was, for the first 6 months, I would walk in every day. There'd be a big screen. It'd have a soldier's name, their rank, their location, and their injury. I would walk to my desk and there would be a stack of reports. These reports were families I had to call to let them know that their loved one had been injured in Iraq. And talk about phone calls that will fundamentally change you as a person, delivering the heartbreaking news that your loved one, has been injured. And I remember this one day vividly. I got a report and a soldier lost both of his legs. And I did my script, ma'am. This is Captain Alexander with Department of the Army. I'm calling to inform you that your husband has lost his left leg. As soon as I said that, I could hear her crumble to the ground. Can you imagine getting a phone call like that on a random Tuesday afternoon? But all I could think of at that point in time, I was still looking at this report. I still hadn't read the rest of his injuries. And talk about just the gut-wrenching obligation that I had to do for that family and for that soldier. It has taught me deep-rooted ways of truly communicating and having empathy for others. And that really, we're not performing brain surgeons as realtors, but what we are doing is we're part of someone's really intimate process of buying a home. And I found that level of communication and that level of empathy is also needed in our industry. So I would say the pivotal moment for me in the Army was when I was serving in the Wounded in Action and Killed in Action Cell for Department of Army during that time. I made gut-wrenching phone calls. I was there for families. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about just us as a society. And I have carried that year and those lessons with me while I've built this business and while I continue to serve my community.
Wow. That shook me up a little bit. Thank you for that. Thank you for your service too. Deeply appreciate it. And I know it was probably really hard. What did that experience teach you about staying calm under pressure?
Oh goodness. When you're put, for me, I can't speak for everyone. For me, even as a little girl, they used to call me Iceman because I perform really well under pressure. I played soccer. That's how I got into the West Point. And I would always be picked for like the penalty kicks because I was just ice cold. And for me, it just comes from somewhere deep inside. It's about breath work. It's about prayer. It's about empathy and not letting those other people down. I often tell my customers that, yes, we do this to get paid. I've got to pay my bills. But at the end of the day, what motivates me is not letting my customer down. And I saw making those same phone calls to those families experiencing the darkest moments of I couldn't let them down. So it's breath work, it's prayer, and it's just grounding yourself during those tough phone calls. And you and I make tough phone calls all the time. And it's practice. It's a skill that you have to continue to foster and cultivate. But bottom line for me, it's prayer and breath work.
Gotcha. So kind of like meditation a little bit.
Yeah. In the spot, like in that moment, because you can't say, wait a minute, give me 30 seconds. I need to step into another room. So you just got to deal with it.
Got you. And how does that same leadership philosophy guide the way you run Red Sash Realty Group today?
I look at it as coach, mentor, serve. That's what our job is as realtors, is we coach our customers to make a good decision or not. Mentor is to guide them to that good decision. And serve is you serve your customers. And that translates, I think, beautifully in our industry. We're not here to tell our buyers and sellers to do a certain thing. We are here to propose, these are your courses of action that you have. These are the risks associated with each course of action. This is my opinion. How would you like to proceed? So I tell anyone that'll listen to me, that's what I say. I tell them it's a coach, mentor, serve. And our primary job the primary job is to protect and educate the consumer. And I think that blends beautifully with the coach, mentor, and serve.
Got you. You talked about art of communication under pressure. In real estate, tough phone calls are inevitable. Agents avoid them, clients fear them. How do you approach those moments with clarity, empathy, and discipline?
It really just depends on the phone call. I'm straightforward. Sometimes I'll preface it with, I'm about to tell you something that you don't want to hear, but I've got to tell you. I don't add any fluff. I'm straight to the point. I keep my voice calm and I allow them to process that. If they cry or if they yell or they scream, I acknowledge those feelings because they're legitimate feelings and we just work through it. And all throughout the transaction, I'm a people pleaser. I want you to be happy. I'm on this podcast. I want the listeners to be happy. And throughout the transaction, I'll tell my customers, at the end of the day, I just want you to be happy. There are going to be times when I call you that you're not going to be happy with me, but it's my job. So leading up to those bad phone calls, I try to prep them throughout the transaction. There may come a time, everything's going smooth as butter right now, but there may come a time where you're upset. We're going to work this through together. And at the end of the day, I have your back. I have your back. I will walk through traffic for you. And if you keep that communication and you keep that same message and it comes from an authentic place, those tough phone calls, they're still tough, but you deliver them with clarity. it's really a shame when agents avoid tough phone calls or they do the text messaging. I don't think that's right.
It's like breaking
You need
up
to
with a
pick up the
text
phone.
message.
Yeah. It's not, I pick up the phone. If I'm negotiating, I'm a phone caller. I'll text. There's instances where you text and it's quite helpful, but a lot of times I'm going to pick up the phone and talk to them because a lot can also be lost through text
Oh,
messaging.
shank. So what is it? 10% of the communication is the words that you're saying, and 90% is like body language, tonation, and the other things. And I've noticed that a lot of times because I go back and forth with text with some clients, and I'm like, what is she trying to say here? What kind of tone
Yeah.
is she using in this? Is she being aggressive with me, or is she being kind? Or because that makes a lot of difference when you hear somebody over the phone. They're telling you something and they're crying or they're nervous or they're happy and you can hear that through the phone, even though it's a phone call. And if you're in person, you can even read the body language of a person that they're disappointed or they're happy or whatever they're trying to show you. And I think it's one-on-one is our business. One-on-one is like the best way. Second best way is probably over the phone. And texting is basically for facts only, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. Or a heads up.
Yeah.
Hey, we got an inspection. And COVID, I feel like COVID always enters the conversation at one point in time. But COVID, it really introduced Zoom. And I do a lot of Zoom calls too, just to have that face to face. And you got to be when you look at what your customers or your clients, depending on what agency you're serving under, what they're feeling, you need to show them who you are and have that level of comfort because they're about to enter a really stressful situation. And if they've never seen your face before, I think that there's some stuff lost there.
Oh, for sure. I push for it with my clients. Hey, let's get on a Zoom call before I go, tour the house for you without you being here. Let's talk a little bit. Let's get to know each other. Who are you? Who am I? And are we even a right fit for each other?
Exactly. There's times where you're interviewing a customer and it may not be a right fit. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just not everybody's a great fit for each other.
Yeah, exactly. I might be the perkiest guy ever going around happy and all, and she's like the most depressed person on the other side. I'm like, I'm not sure we can work together.
Yeah.
We're going to collide some point because I'm like this and you're like that. High energy, low energy. Like it's not going to work out. I'm a high D. You're an analytical person. That might not work. Let's get to the point kind of person. So.
As a high D, I can relate to that. I'm a high D, a very high D.
So how did your military training prepare you for high stress negotiations?
Negotiating, in my opinion, is a skill that you continue to learn. At the military, you're put in stressful situations, jumping out of airplanes. I jumped out of airplanes. That's not a natural thing that you want to do. Oh, let's go. I'm 5'9", 100 and nothing pounds jumping out of an airplane. But it's just that you have to train. And I know there's a part of the brain that you train to put under stressful situations actually gets bigger. And I just think that being under stress on a daily basis, almost from training, leading soldiers, making hard decisions on the job, you train your brain to be more resilient, because I think it's about resilience too. And it's just that day to day, just the day to day knife fight, not a real knife fight, but it's just going in each day with a stressful situation. And your level of stress tolerance increases because you're submitted to that each day, each week.
Got you. And what mindset keeps you composed when the stakes are high?
I do pre-engagement prep. I learned this from my coach, Scott Mann, who's a retired lieutenant colonel. I did one today for this, where I just ground myself, take 3 deep breaths. I identify who I am, why I'm going to be there, and what I want that person to walk away with. Anytime I have a tough phone call, I make sure I'm sitting at my desk. I have my notes. My feet are grounded on the floor. So I do, if I know, I put my systems in place depending on the level of the pain of the phone call. But I think having those systems in place and those reoccurring behaviors, it's going to set you up for success. It's a bit unnatural because you don't want to sit here and breathe 3 times and I am sunny, but that's something you do in private for obvious purposes because I don't want to go to the loony bin. But having those systems in place, whatever that looks like for you, I think it's important. In the past, I would take hard phone calls on the road, and that just doesn't work. You can't be driving, having these tough phone calls or even negotiating on the road. I need to be in my specific environment to perform optimally. If I can't for whatever reason, then I adjust and I make it work.
Got you. You didn't just build a business. You and your husband built a family legacy. What was the transition like going from active duty officer to military spouse to co-leading a real estate operation?
Yeah, getting out of the military after 6 years was a huge adjustment. And I was in for 6 years because you just have that fast-paced environment. You're with other high performers. So choosing real estate as an industry, that's a whole other podcast in and of itself. My husband, he retired after 22 years, and we have a daughter. And a lot of realtors, and to include myself, we build a job. We don't build a business. And we wanted something to pass on to our daughter if she wants it, or we're going to sell it. And we went in with the mindset of what does that look like for us? And the natural progression was I do the sales side, and my husband, he does the property management side. We bought a property management franchise, and those feed well into one another. At the same time, for my brokerage side, I'm working on my system. I have my systems and my processes in place. I have my CRM. I'm building a business. In that way, either I can pass it along to my daughter or I can sell it. Again, this is a very fast-paced industry. We don't get paid unless we sell a house. So I fell into this category too of taking a step back. What's my exit strategy? We're on this hamster wheel of death of sell, because you're good as the last house you sold. What does 5 years look like from now? And I didn't want to continue to go down that rabbit hole. So my husband and I collectively were like, okay, let's find a complementary business model that will feed into sales and vice versa. And we have Red Sash Realty as the brokerage and PMI South Tampa is the property management. I kept those separate. And property managers it's a hard business. I did that deliberately. I didn't want them to be like commingled in any way.
That makes a lot of sense. I know that property management is probably easier to build up and sell than a real estate firm. Because a real estate firm, how do you evaluate? Because you are the source of income. You are the face. You are everything pretty much when you do real estate. And that's the struggle I've been having. The same struggle that you had when you started it. Am I going to be able to sell this? What's my exit strategy? Because I don't want to do this all my life, probably. You can, because I see people at 80 still selling real estate. But that's not the goal. It's not my expectations are higher than that. And how can I sell it? And it's always agent count. How many agents do you have? How much does that bring in? How much do the agents bring in? And that's like a way to evaluate a real estate business. So do you have a lot of agents under you? Are you starting to grow that way? Or how are you guys doing that?
It's twofold. I'm working with Fusion Growth Partners. Fusion Growth Partners is basically my back office. They do all of the marketing. They manage my CRM. So that to me is my business, working on the business. As far as growth, I'm not looking to have a lot of agents. I want a few high performers. I just expanded to North Pinellas County. Rhonda Worley, she's going to be a fantastic agent. She's a Navy wife. She was in new sales. So Rhonda, I'm not actively recruiting because I'm just not. My heart's not led to train and mentor new agents. I want to really focus on my customers. But our growth is small, very deliberate. I'm not actively looking for agents. What I'm focusing on is my relationship with Fusion Growth Partners to continue to build that back office. And what I've done is I didn't want to name it Sunny Alexander Team. I named it Red Sash Group, Red Sash Realty, because that's easier for me to sell than my face, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress. We're still figuring it out every day, but Fusion has been fantastic. It's been the best business decision I've ever made. And we're just continuing to build that sphere of influence, build our CRM, because I think there's something to be said about having a strong CRM with loyal customers. I think that's a lot of the value of the business in and of itself.
I understand that. Loyal customers are loyal to you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's what the argument you're going to have when you go up, if you're ever going to sell it. Hopefully your daughter will take over and you don't have to sell it. And then it'll be fun for her to play around with and grow it even larger. And then she might be like, hey, I'm into recruiting and trading, and that's what I'm going to do. And that way you grow a different way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's because I have the same thoughts. Like I have a good client base. I have an 80% retention rate, 60% return client. I'm like, this is awesome. It's great. This year, I still spend money on marketing, but it's mostly touching base with my previous clients, like mailers and magazines and stuff like that. I cut out Zillow and Realtor.com this year totally. And I'm not doing as well as I did previous years, but it's also been a bad year in real estate. Let's face that. But I'm doing better than my first years in real estate. And my expenses are way lower, and I have the client base. My thought it was like, how am I going to sell this though? Package it up and sell it because they want to talk to me.
Yeah, I know. It's a battle.
It is. And then how am I going to remove myself from this position of leadership or the face of the company and put somebody in my place? And then just manage the person who is basically replacing me as the company leader at one point. And that's what I'm working on with my coach. Mitch Reback is my coach over at EXP. And I'm not an EXP agent, but I have an EXP coach, and he's built 2,200 agents under him. And built.
Who's your coach?
Mitch Reback.
Okay.
You might know him. He's over in Space Coast.
Okay. Yeah, the fact that we're even having this discussion, I think that's awesome. We're both trying to figure out, because this is a problem, right?
Yes.
And we will figure it out. It may look different for you than it does for me, but I think having this discussion and pursuing, that's more than half the battle.
It is.
I just think it's all great stuff.
This is the truth. A lot of people don't think about this, because what happens when your kids fly out of the nest and you decide that, hey, I want to see the world now. I want to go travel. I don't want to be on call 24/7, 365. How can I? And then it's too late to think about that. You got to think about that early on in the stage when your kids are maybe, I don't know how old your daughter is. My daughter is 6 and my son is 2. But if I start thinking about it now and start working towards that, by the time they're 18 and ready to take over, or say that, hey, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I don't want to be a realtor, I'm okay with that because I have an exit strategy already. And I can figure out a way so I can travel and I can see the world, or I can do things that I wanted to do when, while I was working, and I couldn't pursue those, because how can you climb Mount Everest when you're on call? You can't do stuff like that.
Yeah. If you figure it out, man, please let me know, because I am all ears, and I'll do the same for you.
So what leadership skills transferred, and which ones had to evolve from your military background?
I would definitely, the integrity. I think it's not a skill, but as far as skills go, communication, I think, is first and foremost. To have that. Where I struggle is delegation.
That's where most realtors struggle. And that's what I was trying to reach as a point to you, is that I'm learning how to remove myself, because I am, and I think most realtors are, so immersed with ourselves that we're the only ones that can do it, and we're the only ones that can do it, that we hate to switch ourselves out to other people. But if you look at all the big teams, none of the big team leaders are actually front-facing people. Or they might be more in the marketing side, like Josh Altman, but they're not really the transaction person anymore. They have their assistants and all that stuff built into the system that actually take care of the business side of things. They might pick up that one phone call or 2 phone calls a day to a client, but they're more of the, how do we run the business, instead of being in the business, doing it.
Yeah. And that goes back to, as well, like, part of being a leader is your team needs to feel like you believe in them, that you trust them. If you're not delegating to them, what message are you sending your team there? So although it is difficult to delegate, I think high D's I think we fall into that category. But what kind of leader would I be if my message to my team is, I don't trust you, I'm going to do it myself?
Correct.
That's not leadership. So like leadership to me is management of energy. And I want to set my people up for success.
Correct.
I want them to feel like they're in a safe place. I want them to feel that I trust them. I want them also to feel like if they make a mistake, I'm going to underwrite that mistake. We all do it. Sometimes it costs money, but it is an ongoing challenge, and I'm cognizant of it. And I've definitely gotten better. And like I said, it all comes down to, I don't want my team to feel like I don't trust them. What kind of message is that? But that is, it's just something I struggle with. And I think I'm getting better. I mean, right? We're talking about it. I think, again, that's half the battle.
We already realized it. I think that's a win for both of us in this case. And I talk about it I have a podcast on myself. Basically, it was a return. And I talk about it there. That my biggest struggle is delegation. And that is because I have, besides this business, by the way, I don't know if you've read about me or anything. I own a construction business, and I have a 501c3, a charity that I run. I help out with the Boy Scouts, the Scouts in America now. I have an orphanage in Uganda that we take care of. And I'm also a mortgage broker. So I have all of these things.
You have a lot of hats.
Yes, we do. But the point is that how am I going to build it to the point where I don't have to wear the hat at all? Like I can wear one hat saying I'm the CEO, which says here in the corner here, that's what I want to reach. You know, that I'm not Lancelot, the buyer's agent, the listing agent, the marketer, the accountant, everything. I want to be Lancelot, the CEO, and see how my people can run the show without me. And finding the right people and all that stuff. That's where the delegation part, I think that you're struggling with, I'm the same way. And one of the best books, I've started my career with Keller Williams and Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent is, I think, a phenomenal book, how to grow that and how to become that. But it basically gives you the outline of how to do it. It doesn't tell you how to change your mind to hey, you should be doing everything.
I will say that the best move I've made outside of Fusion Growth Partners is I have an actual business partner. Okay. And he is more he's more operational. And so having him keeps me balanced too. Because he'll say, Sonny, you don't need to do that. I'll do that. You need to do this. And he redirects me to growing the business, to think strategically. So I dipped my toe in that. And I can't imagine, his name is Mike. I can't imagine doing real estate without Mike at this point. So for me, it started with that business partner. And then I have my assistant, but it's baby steps. Because you can't, whenever you're trying to make a big change like that, you can't just go in whole hog and try to.
It's cold turkey.
Yeah, it's fixed. You got to ease yourself in. I think for me, that set me up for success.
I'm happy
having him.
That these people came in your life in the way they came into your life. But I think that's one of the hardest or the biggest battles I'm having is finding the right people. You know,
that's hard.
Yeah, because it's like you want someone like yourself, but this is what my coach said. You're never going to find someone like yourself. You're not going to, because you are you and you are a CEO. You are the owner of the business and you hustled all your life to get where you are. And the person you're going to hire, you don't want a person like yourself either, because they're going to branch out then and do their own thing. You want a person that's really good for that one thing you're going to hire them for. That person that's great on the phone, or that person that's great with buyers, or that person that's good at listing appointments, or that person that's good at managing operations and systems and stuff like that. They don't have to be good at everything. You're pretty good at everything because that's your job, but they should be good at one thing, and that's what you should hire them for. And if everybody in the world would be like CEOs like us, there wouldn't be anybody doing the jobs. So there are people that do the jobs because that's their mindset. That's what they like doing, and that's what they're good at. And that's one of the things that came down for me and heavy. And I'm like, you are so right, Mitch. I shouldn't be looking for another person like me. I should be looking for people to fill positions. As we said earlier, how many hats do you wear? That's a saying in itself, means that one hat should be worn by one person.
Yeah.
I think that's
totally agree.
oh my God.
Yeah. It's for me, I've had a couple of business partners and and that relationship ended. But for me, it's finding someone with different strengths, but the same value system. If you
Culture
don't
is
have
big.
that,
Yes, culture is
yeah, if you don't
huge.
have that, then it's going to fail.
Yeah.
It's simply going to fail. And Mike has totally different strengths than me, but we have the same value system, and it's been amazing.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people talk about, big business owners, that culture is really important, because if you have one rotten apple in the culture, it can destroy the whole
Yep.
environment, and then everybody is messed up. So you got to hire slow and fire fast, as they say. And when you work in that operational side of things and make sure that they fit into the culture. Like a culture interview is like a 3-stage interview. Do you have the skills? Yes, you have the skills. Do you have the motivation to do the job? And how long do you want to do the job for? Is it like, oh, I'm just filling in for a year until I graduate from XYZ and I become an engineer? Okay, so you're not my guy. And then the third one
Mm-hmm.
is, culturally, do you fit into our culture? And are you going to work good with our culture? And that's really important, because if they're not clicking culturally with the environment you've created already within the business, then they can just destroy it from the inside.
Yep. Yep.
How has working together shaped your family and your business culture with your husband?
And my husband are completely different. I'm more tactical. When I say tactical, like I'm in the weeds, I'm a doer. He is strategic. He's looking at the big picture. So our strengths really mesh up well there. But I will tell you, communication. And I know I've said that tons of times, but communication, and you stay in your lane, because and he's my husband. I live with him. I can't go home and complain to my husband about my husband. So it's been finding our duties and responsibilities. And if we, for whatever reason, get outside of that lane, we just go to him and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. But before we did that, before we really dialed in what each of us did or does, it was tough. It was hard because he's a big brain. I'm a high D. He is like an I don't even know what he is. He's off the charts on the other side. Let's just say that. But it really came down to divvying up the responsibilities and staying in our lane. Like I said, he manages the property management side of things. I didn't know. So we manage Airbnbs and long-term rentals. I didn't realize his line of work. He was Special Forces Green Beret. I don't know much about the military. They're the guys that go in and do their thing and then they leave. But interrogating bad guys really translates well into vetting tenants and to communicating with guests on Airbnb. So I just didn't realize that those skills that he had in the Army of interrogations and vetting people really translated beautifully into the property management side. So it's been really cool to see that, to see your spouse work in a business that you know intimately well. It's cool. It's cool. The downside is that's all we talk about is the business. But I'm okay with that. That whole work-life balance, I think when you're building, that's going to always be out of kilter. And we're workaholics, so we enjoy working. We enjoy talking about it. But yeah, that work-life balance is a little out of kilter for us right now.
Got you. I know we touched base on growing the business from a job to a business, actually. You say that you can't sell a job, but you can sell a business. So what mind shift do agents need to go from salesperson to business owners?
They just need to map out, where do they want to, I know this sounds cliche, but where do they want to be in 5 years? Where do they want to be in 12 months? Where do they want to be in 10 years? How are they going to get there? I read a great book. It's Who, Not How. Like, how am I going to do this? You should reframe that question on who can help me do this? Because as realtors or agents, we're really good at hopefully people skills, negotiating, those tactical skills necessary for our job. What we're not good at is, my husband's name's Jordan, the strategic level. So you need to pair up with someone that can help you craft what that looks like for you. Don't try to figure it out on your own. It's who, it's not how. Great, it's a very short book to read, very insightful, but I think it starts out with just some soul searching of where you want to be. Okay, where you want to be, how are you going to get there, and who's going to help you do that?
Got you. So Tampa Bay is really competitive market. You carved out a mission-driven niche that families and agents genuinely trust. What does mission-focused leadership look like inside your brokerage?
To serve, it goes back to that trust and communicating. As far as mission, like the way I see it, I'm going to get like Army-esque here, so just bear with me, is I see my job, I'm a staff officer. A staff officer supports the commander. The commander in this instance is my customer. I am there I know what the mission is. The mission is either buy or sell a house. As a staff officer, I'm there to guide them through that. And going back to what I said earlier, sometimes they're going to make decisions where you don't agree with them. You say you don't agree with them, but then you execute what they've asked you to do. So the mission being your buyer selling a house and guiding your customer to that achievement of that mission. That's the way we approach I've had phone calls with customers and I'll tell them, I don't agree with you. I don't think this is a great plan, but I'm going to execute it, and I'm going to execute it like it's my plan. And I think that's what it's all about. When you do that too, it goes back to you're building trust. And I'm sure you've gotten this question before. What is your perfect customer? Who's your avatar? I'll tell you, my avatar is someone that trusts me. That's my avatar. I can deal with whatever, but if there's that trust is there, then the transaction will 100% go smoother. It's more enjoyable. Everyone feels heard. And it goes back to listening and executing what they've asked you to do.
Got you. And how do you scale without losing your service first culture?
Systems in place. Also, being aware of when going back to what we talked about earlier, sometimes the customers aren't good fit with each other. Having that self-awareness and that discipline to identify, okay, this customer, it's not going to end well. We're not a good fit. So another going back to is how much do you want to scale? Like how big do you want this business to be? I'm not looking at having 100 agents. I want to serve my customers. I want to serve them well and keeping that manageable there. But we have some really strong systems in place thanks to Mike and Nisha, which keeps us very organized. And I was just thinking about it the other day, because our systems are so tight, I don't want to say things are easy, but they sure do flow a lot better. So it really goes down. If you want to serve your customers, if you want to meet deadlines, if you want to communicate, you have to have the systems in place to do so.
Okay. And what makes your approach resonate so strongly in the community?
I think a lot of it has to do with I'm like brutally honest. It comes down to, and I think this word's been thrown around a lot, like authenticity. Everybody should be authentic. You should all be authentic. I think that should be a human need, is to be your real self. When you have a good value system in place, you have your mission and you just go back to those things, then I think your community sees that. They see what you're trying to do. You're coming from a good place. I'm a Rotarian. I'm in the Rotary Club. I think service above self. You align with organizations that align with your value system. And when you give to the community, your community is going to give back to you. I call it a self-licking lollipop, right? I just think that if you wake up every day with a good intent to serve your community, that's going to resonate with the community and they're going to identify that.
You said real estate became your new mission, a way to serve veterans, families, and future generations. How did that shift happen for you?
As far as when I got out of the Army, I wanted to continue to serve my community. Also, I was dealing with, we didn't touch on this before, but as a military spouse, my husband was still in the Army. It's very difficult to have a career as a military spouse because you're moving every couple of years. And what employer is going to want to hire you if you're going to move? There's not a lot of upward mobility in that. So it was, to me, a seamless transition. And going back to coach, mentor, serve, I did that in the military. Now I'm just doing that in my community. And the real estate houses and real estate it was always a passion of mine. I always enjoyed it. I was always looking at houses when I was little. It was just a natural progression between the military and here. And what I like about our industry too, somewhat like the military, the better you are, the better you do, the more you go up the totem pole. I think that's awesome, right? The harder you work, the better you are, the more you get paid. I think that's the way it should be. There's not a lot of politics behind it. You're your own company, and that just makes sense to me.
It does. How is Red Sash Group creating generational impact in Tampa Bay?
I will say we're huge advocates of the VA loan. Veterans, the latest statistic I saw that only 16% of the veterans utilize their VA loan, which I think is a crime because it's such a great product. So I don't know if you've heard this parable before, but the guy I mentioned this the other day was to someone else. The guy on the beach was throwing out starfish, right? And their little boy behind him was like, "Sir, you can't save all the starfish." And he's like, "But I got this one," and I threw it into the ocean and he saved that starfish. That's the way I see it with veterans and agents. Like I can't save every veteran, but the more people I tell about the VA loan and the benefits, the more people I'm going to impact, and that's going to compound. So I think for us is educating not only the consumer, but also other agents on the VA loan, because there's so much misconceptions out there about the myths about the VA loan. And I see it is my mission to educate anyone that will listen to me about that product.
I think it's a phenomenal product, and it protects your veterans. Now, on the listing side, yes, you might get a little sweatier when you get a VA offer in because you're like, okay, the appraisal's only local. It can't be out of the area, like a little subdivision. So that makes it a little tougher. And you got to qualify for inspections too. So there's wood rot, which we have everywhere in Florida, everywhere.
Yeah.
You got to fix those things. Yes.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of the times when I have a VA seller, most of the time I get a VA buyer on the same property, and one sells it to another veteran, and it works out really well because they know what it's like to be in the same shoes. Some people don't like to fix things. They're like, "Come on, man, that wood rot that they found is literally $100 fix. It's worth it for your transaction. Like, it's not a big deal. I can send you a handyman, or sometimes I even go out for my veterans, the older veterans I have, Vietnam vets, etc. I cleaned a house, for example, for one of my veterans because they're like, I can't get up on the ladder to clean the what is it called, the fans. And me and my wife went over there, took our cleaning supplies and everything, and we cleaned the house for them to get ready to list. And a lot of times it's just these small things that we can give back for their service. It's a big thing for us that we can do these small things for them, like cleaning their house or fixing something. And I had a veteran agent on the other side of that particular deal, and he ran over there and fixed some of the wood. I'm like, I'm just going to go over there and fix the wood. Is that okay? I was like, yeah, sure, man, go knock yourself out. Make sure that the next person can get into the house. And it's not a huge deal. And most of the veteran agents have these skills too, by the way, which is awesome. You know, like, you went through the military, so you have some skills of repairing or changing a light bulb or doing stuff that needs to be done. And it's amazing that we can collaborate like that and work together to make it good for everybody, especially for the guys that served us. I always like to help those guys out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit of legacy here. For agents out there who want to blend discipline, service, and heart into their business, what's your best advice?
As far as discipline goes, I'm a lifelong learner. I listen to podcasts. I read books. Discipline can be taught. And the best piece of advice for me, for anyone listening, and it's really resonated with me, is for discipline, you just need momentum, right? You don't need to have willpower. You just need to have momentum. So if you start to do the right things, that is going to build momentum where you continue to do them. So just start doing the right things, having a schedule, waking up at a certain time, reading X amount of books. I think that's something, again, that you can learn. The very first thing I would do, though, going back to what we spoke about a few minutes ago, is writing down where you want to be. Without your goals in mind, what are you trying to achieve? How are you going to get there? You're just going to work really hard and go nowhere, be on that hamster wheel. So I think for me, discipline, I've always had it. I've had it early on. But I think it's something that you can start to acquire by making little goals, achieving those goals, and holding yourself to a higher standard.
Got you. What daily habits anchor your values?
I do wake up early. Excuse me, I do have a coach. I tend to always have a coach of some sort. Right now I have Scott Mann, and he coaches storytellers, which really blends well into communicating. I read at least 10 pages a day on a professional book. I listen to a podcast every morning. I have my morning routine and I stick with that. I'm very routine oriented, like almost OCD. If I'm out of my routine, I start to twitch a little bit. But if you're a new agent and you're coming from nothing in terms of discipline, I would start by just waking up 30 minutes earlier, doing something that is going to better you professionally or personally. And that does not involve scrolling on your phone.
Oh, yeah. That's a big distraction.
Yes.
I should punish myself sometimes. But usually, how can agents lead with purpose without burning out?
Delegating, finding a team, and putting systems in place. It's that simple. Ideally, as a new agent, just starting out, work on your systems. Get those email templates, get your CRM set up. That's going to take care of the back office stuff so you can focus on the important stuff, and that's one-on-one communications. As you progress further down the road, I'm sure you've been to the seminars when people ask, do you have an assistant? And if you don't raise your hand, you are the assistant, is finding a good assistant and also finding a real good coach to guide you through that. Gotcha. It's not rocket science. You shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. You're just making the wheel rounder for yourself. And all those resources are out there.
Sunny, that was incredible. Your leadership, your discipline, and your heart for service are exactly what this industry needs. From West Point to Tampa, from the front lines to building a family legacy, you've shown our listeners what mission-focused real estate truly looks like. To everyone listening, if you want to learn more about Sunny's work, community impact, or Red Sash Group, all her links are in the show notes. And if today's episode inspired you, helped you, or gave you a new lens on leadership, make sure to subscribe, share this episode, and leave a review. It helps our message reach more agents, investors, and families across the country. This is the Real Estate Roundtable. I'm your host, Lancelot Lenard, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.